All right, Sinatra MVC. So what we're gonna actually do, say again? So what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna explain the MVC pattern. We're gonna go through why we need something like Sinatra. It's crazy to me that sometimes we'll introduce tools and we won't even explain why we use it. And you all will just be like, yeah, no, great, awesome. Question everything. Because when you get to interviews, they will be asking you like, hey, why did you use this? What problem does this solve for you? And so you should be understanding that at the base level. And then we're going to define something you'll hear called convention over configuration, which is a very fancy term, but all of us over here in the back will say you're pattern matching. And so I will explain what that means. You're going to implement one model today. We're going to obviously bless up to active record. Did you guys like creating all those methods from scratch? Yeah, me neither. Bless up RIP active record. Rest in power. We're going to use like one controller. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to practice Sinatra, and then we will talk about something called rest. It is literally my job to beat rest into your heads. It's nicer than it sounds. All right. So let's talk about MVC architecture. So M, we could start with the model, and we already know what that is, right? Like, Mod 1, the whole story of Mod 1. It was like, cool, let's do HashQBall. Let's introduce you to object-oriented programming. And then eventually, we were all like, great, inside our classes, we can create these powerful methods, and this is what they can do. And then, bam, active record. You get a touch of SQL, and you're like, awesome, cool, I'm ready to go. And so what does a model really do for you? Oh, dang, that's right, I'm on AirPlay. I don't have that cool Zoom anymore. Oh, embarrassing. Cool. What would you say a model does for you then?
View and modify data.
So good. All right, there's no trick questions here. I'm very, very blunt, like straight to the point. Yeah, it's just, it allows you to view and modify data, right? You're going to create a class, and then you have to match that up to a class or table inside the database, and then you need to wire them up through the ORM, the object relational mapper, where there's a table of users in your database, and you have a class user, so you need to somehow use SQL, query the database, get everything inside, and then turn them into Ruby instances, and that's the magic of active record. All right, cool. How do we feel about models? Right? If you wanted to build something, that's where your has many, your belongs to, and all that cool stuff comes in from Mod 1. All right, the view. We talked a lot about the view this morning. It's just what the user will see. It's going to be the HTML that the user sees. It's literally what they are viewing. It's not that difficult to kind of comprehend conceptually. Cool? And then there's this controller thing. How do we feel about the controller? Gotten to the labs yet? Sorry, it's a splash zone. It's okay. What is a controller?
It's where you run your application.
It's where you run your application. Okay. Yo, it's because I've been doing the same lecture for like 2 years. It's for me.
Is it what controls the get and post requests?
Powerful. It's what controls the get and post requests.
Sorry about that. It provides model data to the viewer and interprets user actions such as a button click. And the controller depends on the view and the model.
Wow, what a great answer. And so for the recording, just so we can be incredibly explicit and clear, that's all right. Let's do this. So, boop, boop, boop. Oh, wow, legit. All right, so this right here is a website. Very good, right? Okay, nice. Help me out here. All right, just acknowledge. All right, so we're on a website, and if we wanted to make a request to a website, say Google, Bookface, Twitter, what we noticed this morning when we looked at Rack was that it makes a request, right? If I went to localhost 9292 and I did /songs, I made a request to /songs. And then we formulated what the response should be by building an H1 tag and then like a bunch of LIs for each song, and then we sent that as a response, and then response.finish, it was done. So if we go to any particular route, like let's just say we were to go to some popular website like Espen, and we were to go to this route, what do we see here? Okay, nothing yet. Bless up to that fast lightning speed of internet. Wow. Does anyone else get upset about this guy? Anyway, so if I want to go to a particular website, right, ESPN should have data in the database about all of the sports, right? It should have data somewhere in the ESPN database about NBA, NFL, NCAA, soccer, MMA, MLB, all the sports, right? It's going to have data in the database. Can you see all of that right now? No. If I were to go to ESPN/NBA, then I would get data about what? About only the NBA, right? So in here in this website, I'm displaying information about the right? And so that's really what's happening. If I make a GET request to ESPN.com, it's just going to give me the homepage, and it sends me back a response. If I go to ESPN/NBA, it's going to give me a request to ESPN.com/NBA, and then the response of only NBA data. And so what the controller will do, embarrassing. What the controller will do is it will look at the route, and it will say, all right, hey, is there a route ESPN/NBA? If there is, it's going to go inside the controller, and it's going to go, cool, what information do I need for this route to display to the user? Well, I probably have to reach into my database and grab player data, team data, specific to the NBA. And so, boom, I'm going to have some sort of NBA model, whatever. I'm going to interact with the database. I'm going to pull that data. I'm going to give it back to the controller. The controller now is holding all this NBA data. Then it will send it to some HTML, and then that HTML gets sent right back here. So the controller sits between the model and the view. And that's really about it. How we feel about the controller. Just sits between the model and view, interacts with the database, sends data back. Nothing crazy. Yeah? Yar? Cool. The next thing I want to talk about is this idea behind restful routing. I just want to introduce this concept to you. We will beat this into your heads. It's going to be okay. If I wanted to look at something, a list of all of my players, what would make the most sense for ESPN.com? It's kind of a weird question, right? I think the first thing you're thinking about is, well, what sport do you want? Do you just want every single player to exist in the database everywhere? That's crazy. If I were to create a player list of all the players, I would do something like ESPN.com/NBA/players. That way I know it's all the players just for the NBA. In the same way, I can have a route that says ESPN/NFL/players, which would give me all the players for the NFL. That's the idea that your route exists to make sense about what it is that you're delivering to the user. Cool? So for restful routing, we're going to go into a lot of these things, but the restful routing has to match the only 4 things you can do with data. And that's CRUD. You can only create, read, update, or delete the data. And so I'm just kind of going through this. We're going to talk about REST, but this is kind of like just to get a preview of it. All right. So, boop, boop, boop. All right. Actually, that's not important. Let's actually just go into the app. So, let's handle this. How do we feel about MVC so far? Just like kind of what they are. Not necessarily how it's used, why it's useful, or anything like that. Just what it is, the MVC. Okay, why do we need something like Sinatra? Well, who really enjoyed that rack code from this morning? Wow, oh, man. Oh, God damn. Guess I'm a terrible developer. The reason why you didn't enjoy that rack was because it was incredibly explicit. You had to write every single line down. What we really want to do is abstract all of that knowledge. Like, I don't really care about it. I just want to build the website. Tell me where to write the HTML. Tell me where to get the data from the models, and I just want to build a website. And so Sinatra is going to do that for you. You have to take away all of that abstraction just so you, as a developer, can build the website quickly. So let's do this. Ready? Inside, this is like an old app I built. It just has one model. It's kind of stupid, but we can build anything you want. All right. So we'll have this rake file. I just built this console. That's not a big deal. Let's actually go through. Inside my app, this whole skeleton will make a lot more sense as we continue using all of the files in here. So I have my controller. I have an application controller. And let's just take a look at what's going on here. It's going to set my views to public. I'm sorry, my public folder to public, and my views to app views. Don't worry about line 5. We're going to get to that much later. But line 6, the views. What the user will see is going to be whatever I store in my app folder, specifically under my views folder. That's where all my views are going to be, where my HTML is going to live. And then I have a get to slash. And that's just going to ERB, whatever that means, something called welcome. So far, so good. So let's do it. I'm just going to start my server. Shotgun. Sorry, I was in the army. And I don't know, just shotgun sounds very intense. You can't just be like, oh, hey, shotgun. It's kind of, all right. Nobody like that? I accept pity laughs. Wow. Move on to mod 3, pass go, collect $200. So if I were to go to localhost 9393, excuse me. I see this wonderful application. In the same way that if I were to go to facebook.com, what's the route that comes right after this? Wow, that was terrible. Let's go to Twitter, tweetar.com. What comes after this? What is this slash what? It's slash nothing, right? There's nothing that comes after this. So you could think of slash as essentially home, right? Like that welcome page. And so let's go take a look at the code. If I make a route to get to slash, that's literally just yourboy.com slash. There's nothing after it. The browser would just assume, okay, slash, there's nothing after. There's no additional routing afterwards. So it's just the home page. So what this is going to do is if I make a GET request, we talked about GET specifically this morning. If I make a GET request just for information to your slash, to your home page, it is going to send back an ERB file. That ERB file stands for what? Wow, amazing. Yeah, embedded Ruby. So that I can write Ruby inside my HTML. Why would that be useful?
You can make things like iterators, so how you did on a word list, and then you put list items and like each.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use Ruby, right? Because Ruby is taken from active record. So that's what you're pulling from your database, and you can use that information inside your HTML. And that's how we're going to build those dynamic websites we talked about. So inside my ERB, it's going to be under an app folder under views specifically. So under app, I have a views folder, and I have this welcome ERB file. So this welcome will line right up to this welcome file. And this is all the HTML that's in there. Cool? Like if I wanted to change this HTML that said, yeet. Cool. Now I'm going to go back to my powerful website, and I will refresh. Wow, look at that. Powerful. Oh, dang it. Embarrassing. There it is. I just changed that one thing. So if I were to take a look at the actual HTML, it should be the exact HTML that I wrote. So there's some sort of div with a p tag in it with the welcome to Sinatra template. If I take a look back, there's some div with the p tag, welcome to Sinatra template. That's all that's happening. Cool? So knowing what we know so far, let's take a look at our application, and let's just try to see if we understand. Bloop. If I were to make a get to slash, what route would you like?
Your boy.
Oh, wow. Are you fancy? Are you fancy? Ooh.
Your boy.
Oh, ya boy. Fancy. Cool. Amazing. If I were to do that, again, it's going to ERB welcome. So if I were to go to get to slash ya boy, never done that before, it will in fact give me, oh my god, wow, the same thing because I rendered the same file. If I were to say, all right, I'm not going to use a template. I'm not going to use embedded Ruby. I'm just going to say yeets for cheats. Cool. let's see what happens. If I make a get request to /yaboy, all right, I am saying if anyone makes a get to /yaboy, respond with yeets for cheats. And there it is. That's it.
So in our applications, we would have to do like something like that for every single option.
You got it, right? You'll have to do something like that for every single option, right? Those options being the CRUD actions, and something like this being building HTML views so that our user can have that nice website experience. And that's really it. Wow. I feel like either a really good teacher or the pity is just pouring on hard. Either way, I feel great. So, huh?
You're using the speechless, that's what I'm going to say.
Oh, thank you. All right, and so let's do this. That's basically what's happening, all right? If we wanted to ERB, and I wanted to create a new file, all right? And that's going to be me. Actually, mems, all right? So let's just say I wanted to render some ERB file called memes, right? Under views, I would have to make a new file called meme.erb. And this is just going to be a h1 that says, yo dog, dank memes. Based on this right here, if I wanted to see memes, what would I have to do? Change a route, right? /meme. Yo dog, dank memes. Amazing. So far, so good? All right. So let's take this one step further, right? This right now is unfortunately an incredibly static website. There's nothing being pulled from the database. This is being seen as it is typed exactly. So let's actually create something from the database. Is there a particular model that you would like to create? Anything. Usually when I teach Mod 1, I teach some stupid many-to-many like squirrels nested trees. Okay, you didn't get that. Very good. Okay, let me, Tashawn?
Yeah.
Rappers.
Doctor, patient, appointment.
No, we did Pokemon.
Pokemon? Oh, you're going to do a lot of Pokemon. All right. More Pokemon it is.
No.
Yes. What about you?
You want Yu-Gi-Oh? Digimon? Am I that old? Digimon it is. It's getting out of control. All right, if I were to take a look at all my rate tasks, is this looking familiar? All right, so what do I need to do in order to create a database? Yeah. Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right, so check out, right? This is what I do. I don't remember the syntax, so I just, oh, embarrassing. Thank you. I do what is known as EDD. Have you heard of TDD, test-driven development?
Yes.
Okay, I do EDD.
Error-driven.
Attaboy. I just let the errors guide me. So here it is. I'm not going to create users, but I'm going to create Digimon. I think that's fine.
S. Digimons.
There's more than one of them.
Oh, you're right. Wow, dang. So what can we do?
Drop, oh no, just drop table. You got it.
Y'all are dirty. All right, cool. What's the syntax for this? How would I be able to create a table? Yeah? Digimons. Amazing. Do. It's all about the pipes. What do we want in here? Amazing. Nominate. Got it. Anything else? Age? Ability? String ability. Wow, okay, very good. Just for the sake of this, we're just going to limit it to here because we all know how to do migrations, lots of columns, lots of databases, lots of power. All right, so what else do we need to do? We definitely need to migrate, but what are we missing? What is the database going to wire up to? Right, the M, the class, the model. So let's go into models and let's build Digimons. Mon? Mon. All right, this class is not a chanter. That's okay. So class Digimon, all right? If you don't know what it is, that's okay. It's nonsense, so don't worry. All right, we're gonna pull from good old active record, all about that. You got it. Is there anything we need in here? All right, should I just blindly put belongs to user? No. Good job, class. The answer is no. We should not be doing that. Great, and now we can migrate. Break DB. Tell him what he's won. Awesome. Can you see this, by the way? Should I dim the lights?
Can't read the blue.
Oh yeah, that's fine. This is just the folder. But thank you for your candor. All right. What was that from? What was that movie that people said that they're like honest all the time? What was that movie? That teen dystopia. Divergence or whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyways.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay. Nobody watched that movie. Clearly, it was 5 stars. All right. Shotgun. We're gonna run this back. So what we want to do is let's actually create some Digimon. So I'm going to immediately cancel my server. That was embarrassing. Let's get into the console. And Digimon.new. There we go. Do you like a little pro tip? That way I don't have to go back to look at the schema to see what I need. It's right there. Okay, very good. So Digimon.new. Okay, great. Let's make some. Make that Digimon. Do I need to force the ID? Should I throw the ID in here? Ooh, wow. Yo, bless up to Sean. Good job. All right, so what's the name of this thing? Yeah, very good. And then what's the ability? Fire. Cool. Wow. Anything else? That thing. Huh?
You're right.
You? Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. It's a Pokemon. Thank you. You're paying attention. Very good. All right. So let's get out of here and let's start the server. One person. It'll happen. Don't worry. I do. Actually, by the time we get to Rails, I usually start chanting Rails. And once you see the match, it's like Sinatra's kind of cool, right? It's like I'm building this website pretty quickly. I've only been talking for like 30 minutes. It's like, oh wow. When we get to Rails, it'll just build the whole thing. And you're like, oh my god, wow, Rails. One time I came out, the whole class was chanting Rails, and then my boss was like, I was like, all right, great. Awesome. That was useless. Great. So if I want to see all of my Digimon, what route would make the most sense? Should I make it to get to /table? Would that make sense to you? Get to /chair, get to /projector. I'm obviously pulling from what I see because I'm very original and creative. But what would you like the route to be?
/Digimon.
Wow. Get to /Digimon, like one or go. And what do we want to display here? Let's just test. I'm just going to send back hi. If anyone goes to /Digimon, it's just going to send this hi. Cool? So I would need to go where? Sure it's not hi? Are you sure? Come.
Oh, shit.
What? This is what we were looking for. Yeah, this is correct. I just sent back this response of hi, but what I think you're getting at, perfect segue, is where is all the styling, right? Where did the rest of the kind of website go? All I see is this blank hi. But before I get that, let's fix this. Instead, we want to just render some sort of template, right? What do we want to render here? Sure, let's just run Digimons. Great. So if I were to refresh, womp, all right? It says error no, not ent. Something bad went, get to /Digimons. There's no such file or directory inside your app folder, inside your views folder. I'm looking for a digimons.erb. How do we feel about this error? Does this error make sense to you?
Yes.
Cool. So how can we fix it? What should we build here? Yeah, put a file in views. Powerful. Put a file in views called digimons.erb. Great. And this is just going to be h1 that says, here's my Digimon. Gotta catch them all. I don't even know. What is the Digimon? I don't know, but they're digital monsters. That's all I know. Wow. Here's my Digimon. All of a sudden, the styling is back and everything. So let's take a look at what's actually happening. When I create something inside my app views, it will actually, let's take a look at all of the HTML that it builds. Bloop. Some of my elements, I see this HTML class, I see a head tag with a title, intro to Sinatra. Wow, okay. Some sort of style sheet, link, body, and then this wrapper div. And then just my H1 is right here. Let's take a look at this code, and let's take a look at this right here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Embarrassing. Cool. I'm just gonna close that. I'm a tab monster. So here's that, and we see our H1 is right here. If we take a look at this layout, what do we see? All right. So what's happening?
We're passing something in as a block to this.
Correct. We're passing in, right? Every single website is going to get all of this layout, and then whatever my ERB is will get yielded right here. Right now I only have one H1, so I see one H1. Cool. And so again, Sinatra takes away a lot of this so that you can build your website very quickly. If you want something that's going to be on every single page, like so for example, you're on a website and you're logged in, what do you normally see in the top right corner on every page you visit? Yeah, some sort of like, oh, go to home or the logout button. Where do you want to put that?
In your layout.
Right there, right? Yeah, like I would have some bouton, right? And I would say, go to home or something, right? So no matter what, all of my websites will have some sort of go home button. Wow. If I were to go back to Yabois, okay, just kidding. Oh, I deleted that route. Embarrassing. What were my other routes? Oh, meme. Meme. It would also have a go home button. Cool. All right, how are we feeling about this routing so far? Yeah? Awesome. So let's keep going. All right, so I'm on Digimons, but right now it doesn't actually display anything. We've created some in the database, but now we need to show these Digimon on the page, right? And so if we take a look back at this powerful, I lowered it. Well, let's take a look at this, the routing. If I make a get to /Digimon, it's going to hit my controller. My application controller is like, is there a route that exists of get to /Digimon? Right? And then it's going to go, do I need anything from Active Record? Do I need anything from the database? So let's take a look at that code. Is there a route get to /Digimon? Yes. And so the first thing it will do is it goes, do I need anything from the database? So I need to talk to the model at all? And then lastly, what's the response? Do I need anything from the database to display all of my Digimon on this page? Okay, well, what do I need? I need all the Digimon, right? How would I get all of the Digimon? Bless up to Active Record. Right? Unfortunately, this right here, it needs a variable so I can pass it into the view. And so it could be something like digimons is equal to digimon.all. So digimon is a collection, it's an array-like object of all my digimon. But this variable here, unfortunately, is like a standalone variable, and it does not allow me to pass this variable into this view file unless I make it an instance variable. Cool? So now, boop, boop, with the instance variable, I now can pass and have access to @digimons inside this view folder in this file. So if I look at my digimons.erb, I now have access to @digimons. So what I can do is I can take a p tag, all right, and then I can do something like @digimons. Ooh, didn't like that. The syntax, it didn't highlight. All right, right now the type of file that we're in is an HTML file, but what we want to write is Ruby. That's where the embedded Ruby comes in. So this right here looks great because it's HTML, but this, it looks like a Ruby. So I will need the Ruby interpolation. The Ruby interpolation. This is how I can write Ruby inside of my HTML. I have to put this caret followed by this %, and maybe this equal, maybe not. And then I have to kind of close it out.
Did you do a shorthand program for that?
I did.
What is that?
I did. When you get real lazy in your text editor, you download a bunch of plugins. For Atom, it's like the Rails ERB snippets. But for VS Code, I think it's something similar. Like look up something like Rails snippets.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll find it. If you need help, you can ask us like after class. Cool. Ooh, I didn't say anything about that dirty word. Just kidding. Don't worry about linters. Google it, but don't use it. Okay, so well, this right here I'm going to refer to as either the squids or the carrots, because that's what they look like to me, and I'm a weirdo.
Squids like this.
Oh, okay, squids like this. Yeah? This looks like the Mario squid, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. I was just agreeing with me to agree with me. Either way. So I now have this array-like object. Remember what this is. It's an array-like object. So can I do something like this?
Yeah.
Who says yes, you can call .odd on an array?
No.
That's right, nobody, right? You cannot do that because .odd is not an array method. Right? I can, however, if I had something like 7.odd, I can call .odd on a number, on an integer, but I cannot do .odd on an array because that is not an array method. What are some great array methods that we studied in Module 1?
So we're at.
Sure. The iterators, right? So let's just use each because everyone likes that for some reason. You hate it? Okay, I'm more of like a map guy. Yeah, cool. All right, interesting. Okay. So each one of these are monstars, and I want to make a p tag for each one of them. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right, doesn't really get much higher than that. For each mons, we have a name for them. So I'm gonna just do mon.name. Just kidding, this is a mon, short for digital monster, right? And that's all I'm doing. I'm just gonna go through each, I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm going to basically get the monster's name. So let's take a look at that website. Ooh, not your boy, but to see all the Digimon, it makes sense to go to the Digimon's route. This thing, that thing, and then Mew. Wow, bless up. Amazing. How are we feeling about this dynamic website? Meaning if I created a brand new Digimon, what would happen to this page? The brand new Digimon would be there, right? So far so good? It's pulling from the database. If I updated the second Digimon, instead of that thing, I put in, I don't know, sorry. Usually I'm great with examples, but I keep thinking about my dog. That sucks.
Mike, can you go back to the iterator real quick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
I was just wondering if you called Mvc.
Yeah, it's just a name attribute.
Does dot each need to be in the paragraph tag?
No, dot each does not need to be paragraph tag. I'm going to dissect this here in a second. Very good. Okay, so real quick, how do we feel about this code right here? Just this one?
I have a question. How come you said you sometimes use the equal sign, sometimes don't?
Sometimes I what now?
The equal sign.
In the yield.
In the yield?
You're making pairs, sometimes you're making squids.
How many apps am I building? Okay, don't do what I do, and that is like not close your applications. This is why, this is my Go project. Okay, sorry. I take you guys to Flavor Town if I like teach you all of Mod 2, which is fantastic. But either way. All right, cool. We'll break down all the syntax, right? How do you feel so far just about this being displayed? All right, do you see why Mod 1 needs that solid foundation of active record before you can kind of move on? Because I don't have time to explain like what's happening with the active record. All right, cool. So I don't need this p tag because I don't need the dot each to display. Does that make sense? What does dot each actually return? Dot each will return the original array. All right, dot map will return the new array. And dot select will return a new array. But I don't need the array to actually show up. Look what happens if I were to add this little equal sign. Oh, embarrassing. It didn't like that. It doesn't like that. So what this equal sign will do is it will tell it you should display. If I get rid of the equal sign, it means run this Ruby, but don't show anything. Cool? I'll show you. If I were to give you this, what is 4 plus 4? Okay, what is 10 minus 1? It's tough questions I'm asking here. Okay, if I were to go bloop, I would add the equal sign. Now we're to refresh. It just thinks it's on the same line. It's not. Let me just bloop. There we go. Cool.
So we're always using equal sign if we wanted to show it.
If you want it to physically display on your page, you put the equal sign. If you just wanted to execute the code and not display, no equal sign. How do we feel about that? Wow, powerful.
So where you got that first p tag, right, with at digimons.each do, you don't put the equal sign. So isn't
Yeah.
that second line right underneath it, like mon.name, it's picking up, so it's just still operating, it's just printing out
Yeah.
in mon.
It's evaluating this Ruby, but not displaying. So if it's not going to display, I don't actually need the p tag. Cool? You feel all right about this? Yar? Okie dokie. Bloop. Go on. Go on. Cool. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is I have a list of all of my Digimon, right? But to create like actual functionality in my app, this is just one page. If you're on Instagram and you log in for the first time, what do you normally see? Unless you're on like an iPhone like XL and you're very rich, you can see like 16 photos. But poor people like me with a smaller phone only see like the 3x3, you know what I mean? No? Am I crazy?
I've never seen this one.
Wow. So the idea is that if I see all of the pictures, that is known as the index page, right? I'm gonna log in, I'm gonna see a list of like all these photos, the latest posts. If I happen to touch one of them, not double tap because I'm a stalker, I don't like anyone's photos, so just troll through them, right? Like nobody else does. And so if I were to click one, what actually happens? It opens up that specific photo and gives me all of the details, right? So when I'm in the index view, I see all the pictures. I can't see any comments. I can't see who liked it. I can't see anything. I just see a bunch. Just like this, I'm going to see all of my Digimon. Like let's just say my database had like 20, right? Or 25. Ooh, 30? Doesn't matter, but they're going to all display here. But if I wanted to see all the details of one, we need to create a new view page for that. So knowing what we know, the first thing that we have to think about in the MVC architecture is what should the route be? Right now, I'm in /Digimons, right? Just like with my NBA/players, NBA came first and then players so I can look at all the NBA players. In my NFL/players, it should be all the players for the NFL. So if I'm trying to look at one specific Digimon, what do you think the route should be? What would make the most sense to you?
That specific name. /Digimon/that.
Right. /Digimon/ some sort of unique identifier for that Digimon. Right? So where would I want to create this route? Where do I want to create the route for my view page? I would just make a new route, right? And so I'm just going to do that. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I'm going to make another get to /Digimons / some sort of unique identifier, right? Like ID. I'm going to explain this syntax here in a little bit. So I'm just going to put hi, just to make sure, does this work? Cool. So I'm going to go to /Digimons /1. Do I need another end? We'll see what happens. Yo, risk it. Risk it, brisket. Cool. Why did this not receive all the cool, sexy styling? It was not an ERB, it wasn't a template, so it didn't get yielded to that layout block. Cool? All right, so now that I know that, let's do this. Can I just drop a binding? Let's see what happens. If I were to refresh, it looks like the X is still there. It's somehow still loading. What would make the most sense here, right? If it's a binding, it's going to pause my code. If I take a look at the server logs, it is in fact paused right here. How do we feel about this? This is like, honestly, whatever. It's like the most important piece. You have to be able to debug your code. How do you feel about this? Gucci? All right. Have you been introduced to something called Params yet?
I mean, there was like a lesson.
Pretty long readme. Yeah.
Briefly.
Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Params. Pronounced with the... No, I'm just kidding. Great. So there are certain parameters that are passed by in these requests. So if I were to take a look at my params, I see something called ID1. Let's break this down. When I put this semicolon ID, I'm creating a key within my parameters hash, and whatever I type into the browser is going to be the value. So I'm going to say it one more time. Whatever I put here is going to be the key in my params hash. Whatever the user winds up typing here is going to be the value. Let's practice this, because this is going to make more sense as you break it. I'm just going to exit out of here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 7. I'm going to come back. Cool. Based on what we just learned, what should I see when I put params? A key ID, the value of for shizzle. Now, if I were to say dragon, or to change that, all right, I'm just going to exit this. going to go back and say gold. What should the params be?
Key, dragon, value.
Key, dragon, value, gold, right? So key of dragon, value gold. How do we feel about the params hash so far? Feeling great? Amazing. Let's bless up. The idea is, this is how your routes are formed, right? You have a get to hello, and then you have a key right here. So if I can access this key value, so if I were to say there's a key of dragon, I can do params at a key of dragon, and I should get gold. Just a regular key value pair. These params are passed back and forth because HTTP requests are stateless. That's something we're going to get into later. But let's do this. If I'm going to go to Google, and I were to look up something like Pizza Hut, classic. Let's take a look at the URL. Google.com, bless up. It's going to search something, 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 and then my query params are going to be Pizza plus Hut. So Google's going to take something from my URL, the Pizza Hut, and then it's going to do some sort of search with it. And then it's going to return all of this data. Cool? All right, so let's do that. Let's change this back to ID. Knowing what we know, if params at a key of ID is whatever the user types, right? Let's say Digimon/1, Digimon/2. The ID is going to be 1, then 2. Can I find a Digimon with the ID of 1? Yeah. Can I find Digimon by the params of ID?
Yes.
Who says yes? Who says no? Who says I'm not really sure? That's okay. All right. If the params at a key of dragon, oops, oh, I'm just gonna close it out. Bloop. Wow, I can't believe that worked. If I do something like ID, right, knowing what it is now, whatever the user types, if it's 1, params at a key ID is going to be 1. So this should work. So if I were to say Digimon is equal to this, let's take a look at what the price says. Cool. So I'm just going to exit out of here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And I'm going to go back. And I'm going to go to Digimon/3. Bloop. And now I see this Digimon/ID. So what is params at a key of ID? Just the params at a key of ID.
Oh,
3. So if I were to do Digimon.find at a params at a key of ID, what should Digimon be? It's a Digimon object, the third ID, which is Mew, the powerful water-based Pokemon. Right? Water-based Digimon, excuse me. Wow. I want to get sued. So how do we feel about this so far? Using the params to be able to grab a particular Pokemon out of the database. Digimon out of the database. Embarrassing. How do we feel about it? Questions on using params? Questions on how params are formed? Come. All right. So if I exit out of here, do I have access to? Yeah, send it.
Sorry. So for params, is it always just the parameters of ID and value in the browser?
It's not always,
Not
but
ID, but whatever we decide.
whatever you decide this is going to be the key.
Yeah, but so it's always, when you do params, it's always referring to that and then the browser. Not always.
Not always,
Yeah.
not always, but in this case it does.
Okay.
All right, cool. So I'm going to get rid of this binding. Can I use the regular variable Digimon to pass in the data into my Digimon view. Yeah. No, I need that instance variable. So if I do something like this, bloop. Cool. Let's take a look at that ERB file. I will need to create a new digimon.erb file. And then I'm just going to put h1, and all I'm going to do is drop in the digimon.name. Cool. So following this, if I go to Digimon's 3, it's going to find the third Digimon in the database, pass that object into the view, and then in my Digimon view, I'm just going to display the name. Cool. So I'm going to have a dynamic website, so if I come here, it's going to have the name, but if I go to 2, I should get the second Pokemon. And if I go to 1, I should get the first Digimon. Excuse me. Wow, that's awful. Cool. This particular Pokemon is what is known, this particular page is known as the show page. So if you list all of them, we call it the index page. If you list one particular one, it's known as the show page. Cool, so you have index and you have show. So far so good. So if I were to go back to /Digimons, I have my index page, but this is a 1-star user experience. The idea is that if I want to create a better user experience, I should be able to click this that takes me to that page. All right, so let's do that. What page is this? What view page is this? Where can I find the code for this view? In my Digimons. My Digimons, all right? So instead of a p tag, what is the HTML for a link? It's an anchor tag, right? With the href of what? Where should this go? /Digimons / that particular Digimon's ID. Do we have access to the Digimon? Mon.id. What does this look like to you? That look like I'm going to try to write some Ruby. Do I want it to display, yes or no?
No.
Do I want the /1, /2, /3 to display, or do I want it to not display? Remember the route that I'm trying to go to. Do I want it to display? Right, I want it to display, so I'm going to leave the equal in. So if I were to refresh, gangster. Let's take a look. Let's bring this to the bottom. The reason I bring it to the bottom is if you look right here where my mouse is, you'll see Digimon /1, Digimon /2, Digimon /3. So if I click it, it will give me the route Digimon /3, bring me to the Mew page. Wow, what a 5-star user experience.
Why is it all online?
I'm using the each, and I'm just creating an anchor tag. And the way HTML is, it's not going to make a new line break by default. A p tag creates a new line because it's a paragraph. But if I just use the anchor tag, it'll be like anchor, anchor, anchor. If you wanted that 5-star experience, then if you really wanted to, you just drop a break. So if you go back, wow, bless up to technology. Cool, so we went over index page, and we went over the show page, went over why we use Sinatra. The controller handles the route. It accesses data from the model, and then it sends back that response, that view page. Cool? So get to / will give me index. The proper way to do this is going to be, I'm just going to call this the index page. All right? The proper way to do the show page is to call it the show page. But what if your app, for whatever reason, has more than one model? Oh my God, what complications. How can we create some sort of separation between models if I have an index page for all my Digimon and I have an index page for all my squirrels, I have an index page for all my users. I need to separate them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Digimon/index. Because if I have multiple index pages, I need to separate them somehow. So what I'll need to do is inside my views, I'll need to make a new folder, Digimons, and then I'll need to move that Digimon's ERB in there. But it's no longer called Digimon's ERB. What did I, in fact, rename it? Index. All right, so I'm just going to go bloop, 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 bloop. Index. And then I'm going to do the same for show. So in Digimon, I'm just going to rename this show.erb. So my application controller, this makes sense. Bloop. And then that should make sense. Yes, everyone will have its own view. We won't get to it today, but you can start to see the abstraction. This is how you manage all of these files and folders as your app gets more complicated. You can already see here, I have a squirrels controller. Naturally, I don't want every single route to live in my application controller. If I'm going to do something with Digimon, I'm going to put it in the Digimon controller. If I have users, I'm going to have a users controller. So if I do get to /users, it's going to be my users controller. Inside my users view folder, I'm going to have all of the views. And that's the MVC architecture. And that's just designed to help keep you organized. Cool? All right, I'm just going to run through the README so we can make sure we hit everything. Cool. How do you feel about MVC? Okay. Why do we use something like Sinatra? Right? It's got great file structure, and it abstracts everything. So all you have to write are the routes, what you need from the database, and then the HTML. And then you can build a website very quickly. Convention over configuration. This just means that if I write it this way, it will work. This is the convention. I'm going to tell you, if you make a get to /, you put in the code, the ERB, it's going to work in this way. The convention is your HTTP verb, the route that you want, and then send the response. If you write it this way, it will work. That's what it means by convention. So that you're not writing code that doesn't look similar. And the reason that's important is because if you're pair programming and somebody else, I'm not even going to say a word, if somebody else has a route whatever, blah, 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 and it ERBs something, without me really explaining to you, if you just looked at this code, do you know what it's doing? I should know immediately, okay, you just made some stupid route. You have some sort of word that you're finding in the database, word.find, whatever. And then there's some sort of view called something. If something goes wrong, I know exactly what file to go to. And that's the convention. Cool. We implemented one controller. We talked about routing. It's going to hit that route. It's going to do that code. And then it's going to send the response. We talked about ERB templating and how like the layout has like all of the other HTML and then the yield block just calls your ERB file. We practiced some Sinatra stuff.
So how do you tell it to look at squirrels controller?
How do I tell it to, inside the config, I would say use squirrels controller.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't got there yet. Cool. And then we just talked a little bit about like REST in terms of like how we're doing the routing. /Digimon/ID gives me that show because I have the ID of this particular one. /Digimon gives me the index and it gives me all the Digimon. We haven't talked about the rest of the CRUD actions yet. We haven't talked about creating or updating, only the read, index and show. And that's what tomorrow's going to be. Tomorrow we're going to talk about creating using forms and the C in CRUD. All right. Are there any questions? Fantastic. That's all I have for you today. Thank you.